Hello, students. Good morning. Students, today we are going to start our ninth chapter, that is soil, and this is the first part of this chapter. Students, in this part, we will study about soil and its formation. Formation of soil means weathering, then agents of weathering, humus, soil profile, composition of soil, and types of soil. So, students, our first topic is soil. So, students, soil, we all are familiar with this thing. We all know what is soil. As generally, we can say the uppermost layer of earth crust, it is generally termed as soil. So, we can, and we also know that soil. The formation of soil takes place from rocks, means rocks are broken down into smaller pieces. It takes too long time, and by these processes formation of soil takes place. So we can say the mixture of rock particles and humus is called soil. And we also know that soil is one of the most important natural resources. The natural resources that we get from nature as water, just like water, soil is also one of the most important natural resource. And this word soil is it is made up of a Latin word, that is solium. Solium means earthy material. Earthy material means which is present on the earth in which plants grow. So soil means the upper layer of earth crust, or it is a mixture of rock particles and humus. The thickness of soil on earth's surface, it varies from a few millimeters to 3 to 4 meters. As we know, soil is made up of so many things. It is a mixture of so many things, in which gravel, sand, clay, these substances are present. Except that organic and inorganic substances are present. In organic substances, humus is present, which is a darker in color, means brownish or blackish in color. So that humus is present, and this humus is very fertile in nature, so it gives fertility to the soil. Except this humus, means organic material, some inorganic salts, inorganic matters are also present, inorganic substances are also present in the soil, as sulfates and nitrates, etc. So they also help in increasing fertility of soil along with humus. Except that some living organisms are also present. As you can see, rabbits and sometimes rats, they make burrow in soil, they live in the soil. So many living organisms are present, as earthworm or rabbit, rats, centipedes, millipedes, beetles are present, and so many microorganisms are also present. These microorganisms are very important for soil because they help in increasing soil fertility. That thing we will see further in this chapter. So, soil. This is all about soil, and one more important thing: soil is very important for us. For us means for all living organisms, and in all ways soil is most important for us, because soil provides support to the plants, means it provide a support so that plants can stand upright in the soil. And soil also serves as a storehouse of water and minerals, means these water and minerals, they are needed for the growth of plants. So these things are present in soil, which is taken by plants and which is required for the growth of plants. Except that soil is very important, it is very essential for agriculture, because we know that just because of agriculture we get crops, so many types of crops. And if crops will not be there, means if soil is not there, crops will not produced in the soil. And when crops will not be there, then we cannot get shelter and food and clothes also. So soil is the basic thing, soil is the most important thing in which agriculture process takes place, and just because of this we get the crops also. So soil is just so important for agriculture process, except that is a shelter for many organisms, as we know. So many types of other organisms are also present, and when these organisms are present, like microorganisms as bacteria and fungi, so they help in the process of formation of humus. That thing we will study further in this chapter. And earthworm, it also help us to increase the soil fertility, as we have studied about composting in sixth class. So we know how vermicompost is produced by the help of earthworms. Then these earthworms, they are present in soil, they make burrows in soil, and they excrete the soil in the form of worm cast, which is very important for soil fertility. So we can say without soil there would be no grass, no crops, no trees, no food for us and for other animals also. So soil is a very important substance for the survival of all living organisms. So students, our next topic is formation of soil, means weathering. So soil is formed from the rocks by the process of weathering. As we know that in the very beginning, in the starting, the major earth surface is covered with rocks, and then soil formation starts with the breakdown of these rocks. Means these rocks are broken down into the smaller particles, and this process is called weathering. So this is a very slow, continuous, and stepwise process. We can define it as the breaking and wearing down of rocks and other materials on Earth's surface. This process is called weathering, or we can say the process of breakdown of huge rocks into smaller rock particles by the action of sun's heat, wind, rain, flowing water, and other climatic conditions. So this process is called weathering. So students, this is a very slow, very long, and very stepwise continuous process. So first of all, rocks broken down into the smaller particles, and these initial products of weathering is called parent soil. So this process of weathering, it is a very slow and continuous process, as it takes place, it takes long period of time. It can take up to 1,000 of years to produce only 2.5 centimeter of fertile soil. So this process means weathering process means rocks are mainly broken down by two types of weathering. Generally, two types of weathering are there, that is physical weathering and chemical weathering. One more type of weathering is there, that is biological weathering. So here we will study about these two type of weathering, that is physical weathering and chemical weathering. So physical weathering means the breaking down of rocks into smaller pieces by the force of weathering without changing the chemical makeup or without changing the chemical constituents of rock. This is called physical weathering, means that physical and chemical changes we have studied. So in physical changes, we have studied that there is no any change in the composition of any material. So same thing is there also. When rock particles are broken down into smaller pieces by the forces of weathering, means by the agents of weathering, without changing the chemical composition or chemical makeup of the rock, then this type of weathering is called physical weathering. And as we have studied in chemical change, that in chemical change the chemical composition is changed in the new substances. So chemical weathering means when the chemical makeup or chemical composition of the rocks is changed, means rocks are broken down into smaller pieces, but their chemical composition, their chemical makeup is also changing, then this type of weathering is called chemical weathering. And chemical weathering is most common in the equatorial and tropical regions, because there is presence of enough moisture and heat is present, so it can start the chemical weathering. Except that one more type of weathering is there, that is biological weathering. So biological weathering is the form of weathering which is caused by the growth of roots of plants and burrowing of animals. So plant roots are most efficient agents in the biological weathering, as they give some means they produce some acids that contribute in the breakdown of rocks. Now we will see the agents of weathering. So a number of agents they work to break down the parent soil, means they help in the weathering of rocks and further weathering, further breakdown process of parent soil. So first of all, we will see wind. So wind is a very strong and powerful agent which hit the rock and make the strange shapes of them. They roll the rocks when they blow with a great force, and the rocks get cracked. So heavy winds throw small grains of sand on the rocks and chip off teeny pieces from them. So rocks are broken down into smaller rocks and stones by the continuous blowing of wind. So wind is the agent of physical weathering. Then next one is sun. So the sun's heat means sun's heat first heats up the rock particles during the daytime, and you know that when something gets heated up, then it expands. When it cools down, then it contracts. So sun heats up the rocks during the daytime, causing them to expand, and again that heated rock cools down very slowly at night time, and they start contracting. So this repeated heating and cooling, means repeated expanding and contracting, finally make the rocks expand, and these rapid changes causes cracks in them, and ultimately rocks split into pieces. So this is also an agent of weathering, and this is the agent of physical weathering, in which no chemical makeup of the rock get changed. Now next one is water. So water is the agent of weathering, and we can say it acts as both agent of physical weathering as well as for the chemical weathering. So first we will see how it acts as the agent of physical weathering. So what happened? Water enters the cracks in the rocks and freezes. A frozen water means ice makes the rock expand. When it get frozen and means water get frozen inside the cracks of the rocks, it become ice, and its volume increases, so it expands the rock and deepens the crack. Now the crack rocks they get cracked and break into small pieces, and ultimately they get broken down into finer particles, and this further this process continues, and ultimately the soil forms. So this is the agent of physical weathering, means here in this case water acts as the agent of physical weathering. Now we will see how it can act as the agent of chemical weathering. So sometime what happen, water, it can react with the gases which is present in the atmosphere. Means suppose cracks are there in the rocks, water is present in that cracks, and some gases are present, suppose carbon dioxide gas, as we have taken as example. So suppose carbon dioxide gas is present in the atmosphere, so water can react with that gas, and it can form some acid. And one more thing, sometimes some minerals are present in rock itself, and then water reacts with that minerals, and it forms some acids. So these acids, when water reacts with the gases present in the atmosphere, or they react with the minerals present in the rocks, they form some acids, and these acids, they speed up the decomposition of rocks. For example, we can say when water combines with carbon dioxide, as I have told you, carbon dioxide gas is present in the atmosphere. So when water reacts with carbon dioxide gas, it forms one acid. That acid is called carbonic acid, and carbonic acid dissolves the rocks on the surface of earth and speed up the process of weathering. So here water acts as a agent of chemical weathering. In first case we have seen how it acts as the agent of physical weathering. Here chemical composition of rock get changed, that is why in this case it acts as a agent of chemical weathering. Now next, plants and animals. So plants and animals, they act as the agent of, sometimes they can act as an agent of physical weathering, as well as they can act as an agent of biological weathering also. So plants, their roots get spread in the cracks of the rocks, and they split the rocks. Means when the roots get spread in the rocks are broken down, they split it into smaller particles, but their chemical composition will not change. Okay, so here rocks are broken down into smaller pieces. Then this is the agent of physical weathering. We can say plants and animals, they are biological agents, but they are acts as the agents of physical weathering. But next case, some small plants are there. Plants means some mosses and lichens. Lichens we have already studied. So they produce some acids, and these acids are capable of dissolving the minerals in rocks. So these acids they produce, they seep down into the rocks and dissolve some of the minerals. So gradually the rock breaks down into smaller pieces. So this is again, we can say it is an agent of chemical weathering, but as a whole, plants aid in this weathering. That is why they are the agent of biological weathering. Again, some burrowing animals like earthworms, rabbits, moles are there. So they loosen the soil. So when they burrow, they break the bigger particles into smaller particles. Now, our next topic is humus. So humus, as we know, humus is the dark organic matter that forms in the soil when dead plants and animal matters decay. Means when organic matter, these organic matter, they mainly contains dead and decaying animal substances, dried leaves, twigs, grasses, vegetables, and other microorganisms, and some other nutrients are there. So as we know that in soil microorganisms are present. We have studied also that when some organic matter is there, suppose dead plants or animals are present in the soil surface, so microorganisms they come and they start feeding upon that, and they convert that larger molecules into smaller one. And these smaller particles of which are made up of, by breaking down of these larger particles, they are dark in color, and that dark material is called humus. So humus are the naturally obtained soil, we can say, which can be easily produced by the process of composting. Composting we have studied in 6th class. So humus is the dark organic matter which is formed by the decomposition of dead and decaying organic matter, any dead bodies of animals or dried leaves or dried plants also. So we can say the rotting dead matter in the soil is called humus, and humus is constantly being added to the parent soil by the action of microorganisms. These microorganisms basically they are bacteria and fungi. So they are present in soil, and they help in the making of humus. So humus helps in binding the loose soil grains together, and they make the soil more fertile, because all that organic matters they are made up of nutrients, and again that nutrients in the smaller form they come as the form of humus. So humus is also very fertile, and it make the soil fertile, and it also help in the absorption of heat in the soil. Humus makes the soil in it makes the soil able to hold water also. Means humus increases the water holding capacity of soil also. Next thing is soil profile. So soil profile, we can say a vertical section of soil which shows us different layers or horizons. It's called soil profiles. Means if suppose we are cutting a vertical section, or we can say a longitudinal section of soil, then we can see different layers, and these different layers are called horizons also. So any vertical section of soil which shows different layers or horizons, it is called soil profile. So soil profile, it separated in a different soil layer, and each layer differs in texture, color, depth, and their chemical composition. Now the soil which is completely developed. So if a soil is completely developed, then it consists of three layers, and three layers means three horizons are present, and such type of soil is called mature soil. And if only two layers are present, then such type of soil is called immature soil. So mature soil takes many years and favorable conditions to develop. Then there are three main horizons, or we can say layers of the soil. So the top layer of mature soil, where most of the plants grow, such layer is called horizon A. It is also called as topsoil. So this layer is dark in color, and in this layer lot of humus is present. Means generally the topsoil is rich in humus, and we know why, because all the organic matter, means dead plants and animals, they are present on the topsoil, on the soil surface, where the process of decomposition takes place. So humus formed in that layer only. That is why topsoil is rich in humus and it is darker in color. And just because of humus, which is organic matter, so some minerals are also present in that layer. That is why this layer is very rich in nutrients, and this layer of soil is soft, porous, and hold enough water. That is why topsoil, or horizon A, is very fertile layer of soil. Then many other living organisms like earthworms, insects, rodents, and some beetles, bacteria, and fungi. These two are the microorganisms. They are also present in topsoil, or a horizon, and this layer is very fertile, and roots of small plants are also embedded completely in topsoil. As you can see the image of soil profile. So first layer is topsoil, or a horizon. Now second layer, the layer just under the a horizon, is called horizon B, or subsoil. So it is lighter in color. Why it is lighter in color? Means it is lighter in color than upper layer, means a horizon. So it is lighter in color because almost no humus is present in subsoil, or horizon B. That is why it is lighter in color. And most of the minerals which are in horizon A, they seep down with water in horizon B. So horizon B, or subsoil, is rich in minerals. It contains some metal salts, especially iron oxide is present in great amount. So farmers often mix A horizon and B horizon together when they preparing field for crops. And this layer of soil is harder and more compact than a horizon. As we have studied in a horizon, that a horizon is very soft, porous, and very loose. So in comparison of that layer, that b horizon, or subsoil, is harder and compact. Then c horizon. So the bottom layer of soil is called horizon C, or substratum. And substratum it is called because it is very hard, and it is made up of broken pieces of rocks, and in that rock cracks are present. So this layer represents the transition zone between the earth's bedrock means below the sea horizon, and horizon A and B. So in this layer, that parent soil is present, means broken rocks are present, and these rocks are rich in minerals, but no humus is present in sea horizon. And below the sea horizon, there is unearthed solid rock, which is called bedrock, parent soil, or R horizon. And in this layer is very hard and very difficult to dig. Now, after that, we will study about the composition of soil. But before this, there is one activity to know about the layers of soil. So for this, we need water, bottle, and garden soil. So first we will do that we will take some water in bottle, and then we will take handful of garden soil. Garden soil means the soil which is mature soil, which is completely developed soil. So we will take that soil in bottle, and then we will put the lid on and shake well, and then allow the contain to rest for 15 minutes, and then we will observe it. So when we will observe it, then we will see that different layers of soil are separated in the bottle. So we can say on the top layer there is lighter soil that floats with the pieces of twigs and leaves. So this is basically humus. Now the next layer is muddy water, which contains very fine grains of soil. So this is clay. And then there is a layer of sand. The particles of sands are bigger and heavier than that of the clay. So the bottom layer consists of small pieces of rocks and stones. So we can see four layers will be there. First one is humus, second one is the clay, then third one is sand, and at the fourth there will be stones. Now our next topic is composition of soil. Means what are the composition of soil? So the composition of soil is different in different types of soils. It depends on the type of rocks from which it is formed. So basically all soil contains some constituents which are common for all soil. So first one we will see the mineral particles. So in mineral particles, basically gravel, sand and clay are present, and these particles they determine the texture and type of soil. So gravel particles are bigger than sand, then sand are smaller than the gravel, and sand particles are bigger than the clay particles. So gravel will be the bigger one, then sand grains they are smaller than the gravel, and clay is made up of very fine grains, and they are that much fine they can stick together. Next one is living organisms. So living organisms means tiny plants and some animals like centipedes, millipedes, or scorpions or earthworms. They are found in soil. Except that we can see the rabbit and rats also. They make burrows. Means they build their houses in the soil. And some microorganisms are also present. So when these organisms and plants, means the bigger animals and the plants, they die out, the microorganisms they come and they feed upon them, and they decompose the materials, organic materials in the soil, and make the soil fertile. Now next one is humus. So humus is a completely decomposed product of plants and animals, because we have studied about humus, and humus acts as manure because it increases the soil fertility. Next one is water. Water is present in the spaces found in between the soil particles. And the water holding capacity of soil depends on its texture, that we will study now. So water is also present in soil. It is one of the component of soil, and this water is needed for the good growth of plants. And next one is air. So air is also present in the spaces between the soil particles, and it is also needed for the proper growth and proper living of the living organisms. The soil air also affects the drainage of the soil, and the larger the spaces, the rapid drainage will be there. Now, next one is types of soil. So soil, we know soil is not same in every place on earth. Means there is, suppose there is differences in climate, the shape of landscape is different, then vegetation is different, and the interval of time in which the soil is formed. Or if all these things are different, then it affects the kind of soil found in any area. So different soil characteristics can be indicated by its color, texture, and chemical properties. So the color of soil, it ranges from yellow to red or black. And if darker color is they are present in the soil, means soil is, suppose it is of darker color, then we can say there is high percentage of organic matter, means humus is present in the soil. So according to the size of particles, soil is basically, it is of three types: sandy soil, clay soil, and loamy soil. So sandy soil, first we will see sandy soil. So sandy soil consists of large sized sand particles because it contains more than 60% of sand along with some clay. And in this type of soil, in sandy soil, the space between the particles are quite large, means it is too porous also. And just because they are having large sized particles, that is why the space between the particles, it consists of lots of air, means the soil is well aerated because of a lot of air present in between the soil particles. One more thing, the particles are very large in size, that is why they cannot hold much water, means their water holding capacity is very poor. They cannot hold water. So we can say this, one more thing, these soil, sandy soil, they cannot hold nutrients also. So we can say that the soil is not good for plants, because sandy soil, it is very light, well aerated and dry. Just because they are dry means they cannot hold water, so they and they cannot hold nutrients also, that is why the soil is not good for plant. Then also melon and coconut, they grow in sandy soil. And cactus also, cactus, sand is present in desert, and which cactus is very frequently grow. So cactus also grow in this type of soil, sandy soil. Next one is clay soil. So clay soil consists of smaller sized clay particles, means their particle size are very small because mostly clay particles are present. So clay particles are having a very smaller size, their texture is very small. Then if clay particles, they are wet, and clay soil is very become very sticky. And tilling means cultivation of the land in order to raise crop. This process is very difficult for clay soil. And they're very small sized particles, so spaces between the particles are very less, so they are non porous, and their air is also present in very less amount, means they are not well aerated. But just because of the small spaces present in between the particles, they can hold much water and they can hold nutrients also, means their water holding capacity and nutrient holding capacity is very good. But just because they can hold lot of water, they very easily get waterlogged. Hence they are rich in minerals, but they easily get waterlogged. That is why this soil is also not good for plants, because suppose lot of waterlogging is there, water is present in clay soil, so that soil is already, that is very badly aerated, so plant roots will not get air, and there is a chance that plant roots can rot. So this soil is not good for crops. But some crops as paddy, which requires a lot of water, so such type of crops need such type of soil, clay soil. But clay soil is used for making toys and pots, and so many other purposes are also there. Then last one is loamy soil. So loamy soil is a very good mixture of sand, clay and silt, means it in this soil, sand, clay and silt, they are present in very right proportion and right amount, they are present, means it is a good mixture of sand, clay and silt. And the space between the particles is sufficient because it is a mixture of clay, sand and silt also. So silt soil, it occurs, it is found at the deposit of river beds, and its size is in between the sand and clay. So loamy soil is very good in all manners, because sand is present, it means its aeration, means air holding capacity is also very good. Clay is also present, it means its water holding capacity is also very good, its nutrient holding capacity is also very good. So just because it is very good, it is having very good water holding capacity, it has sufficient aeration, and it is rich in nutrients also, so it is well suited for cultivation, means loamy soil is best for crops. So this is all about the types of soil. So three types of soil are there: sandy soil, clay soil, and loamy soil. Sandy soil, basically sand is present in that soil. Air holding capacity is very good. Water holding and nutrient holding capacity is very bad. And clay soil, aeration, air holding capacity is very poor, but water holding capacity and nutrient holding capacity is very good, but then also the soil is not good for crops. And loamy soil is a mixture of sand, clay, and silt, and it is having sufficiently aeration quality, sufficient water holding capacity, nutrient holding capacity. That is why loamy soil is best for crops. Now some understanding based questions are there. So first one, what do you mean by immature soil? Then why is soil so important for living organisms? What is weathering? What is humus? And which soil is best for crops? So these are some questions. You can find the answers of these questions from the video. So do watch the video and firstly read the chapter also, and try to find out the answers of the objective type question which is given in this chapter. Okay, students, thank you.